Smile. Here they're all flying in. All 562 people that registered for this amazing workshop today.
Is that all?
That's all. We're shooting for 600.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We're going to give everybody about a minute here to get set up and ready to go, and we'll get started at 8:01. So thanks for joining us.
It's always good to have some friends in the audience. So thanks, Matt, for posting. Good morning, all.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Morning, Matt.
All right, everyone. Good morning. It's 8:01. We're going to go ahead and get things rolling here. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the TEI Fall Focus webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We would have loved to have seen you all in person, but just to make sure that everyone stays safe, we're going to go ahead and do this webinar. But either way, we'll have some packed information. So we're really all excited to be here, really happy to share this information with you. We hope you're all doing well and just welcome. So this webinar is made possible by the Entrepreneurship Institute. TEI has been providing guidance to CEOs and presidents of small and medium-sized companies for 44 years since 1976. So thanks to TEI and all the sponsors on today. To get the most out of this information, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I would please encourage you to go ahead and post any questions you would like to the chat. So if you're unfamiliar, if you just move your mouse around down at the bottom, you'll see a little bubble that says chat. You can click that up and you'll see some conversation going on inside of that chat panel. So please do post questions as we go along. If there's a slot that we can put them in the middle of the conversation, we will. If not, we'll go ahead and we'll circle back to those at the end of the conversation. So we do have three amazing panelists with us today: Brandon Dempsey, Phil Crone, and Todd Hovermail, each experts in their own field. And as we move along here, we're going to go ahead and let them do their introductions in line with the presentation itself. So here we go, everyone. Let's get things kicked off. So Phil, how can sellers develop relationships, be seen as experts, and be trusted while meeting virtually versus in person?
Well, it's a great question, Tom, because business travels at the speed of trust, and it's table stakes to be considered as a vendor, as a partner, as a supplier, to be trusted and be seen as an expert. And over the 27 years that we've been working with organizations that have complex sales processes, helping them develop their sales process and their consultative selling skills, we've observed that a small percentage of companies, about 20%, bring in about 80% of the business, which means there's a 12 to 15 to 1 gap between the top producers and the less productive people. And the reason is that the more productive people have a consultative sales process, and the less productive people have more of a transactional process, which means that the value is all in the transaction, it's in the deliverable, it's in the product. Whereas the consultative seller is actually creating value in 15, 20 different ways within his sales process. Let me give you an example. It's rather simple. But the difference between a drugstore, a pharmacy, and a doctor. The drugstore has a transactional sale. They buy pills in bulk. They break them down, put them in little bottles, they label them, they take cash, you get the pills. The doctor does a diagnosis. He creates value before he ever performs whatever the fix is, whereas the drugstore, it's strictly all the value is in the transaction, which is the pills. And the reason this is so important is that the sales process, a consultative sales process, translates as we move from field selling to online selling. And a transactional process really doesn't convey. We'll talk more about that a little later.
Great. Thank you, Phil. Brandon, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity right now with this virtual selling as far as building rapport and learning about the other side, the other company, because up until now, a lot of sales opportunities were done on site and milk runs and touring a customer space. Well, now we have the ability to not only tour the customer space, but also to show the customer your space. And what we've been able to find is that we're able to build this rapport and create this connection in a way that we weren't able to create before when it was just straight in person. So while, yes, I do enjoy selling in person more, I will tell you that the rapport building and getting to share some of the experiences and learn about the other side, I think there have been some cons, but some pluses with this virtual selling model.
Yeah, I agree. Great. Thank you very much. So Todd, what are the behavioral differences between the top producers and the less productive salespeople that enable them to be successful selling virtually?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I think, whether you're an in-person or a virtual environment, the behavioral differences that separate the top producers from the less productive salespeople, I think they're mainly the same. And I would just categorize them into two broad areas. First is mindset. The top producers have a mindset, which is very, very important because it's the root cause of behavior. They clearly understand their own individual purpose, their reason for being, as well as the organization that they represent. They have a client focus. They clearly understand critical areas of client information that they need to gather. They're prepared. They offer ideas and solutions after they understand the challenge of the client. And they also can do that with balance. The solution works for the client. And in our case, we're a commercial bank. So, that has to work for us too. And not only from a business case, but we take credit risks. So we have to make sure that we're properly protected and we're doing the right thing for our organization too. Also, I think the top producers are great team leaders. What we do, the work is complex and interconnected. They serve the team well. They help their team get better, and they're awesome communicators. I think that mindset is just paramount to success in this world.
Yeah, great point. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. Phil, do you have anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, Todd made some great points. I think enthusiasm and belief in the company and belief in the product is part of that mindset. I also think some of the behavioral differences include that they have multiple customizable sales processes. So they might have a different sales process for an end user, a buyer, a decision maker, an influencer, a referral source. And so they not only have multiple processes, but they're customizing them each time for that prospect. And they also have some assets that they can use that helps with the behavior. Todd mentioned they find the challenges. Well, the top producers will have a greater inventory of potential challenges than their competitors. They'll have good stories. They'll have rules of thumb. They'll have visuals, all to enrich the sales process. So I think the behavior is definitely different.
Great. Thank you, Phil. So Brandon, as sales have shifted from field to online, is there anything that's become easier or better?
Oh my gosh, Tom. So almost all our clients are in the manufacturing and distribution realm, which means most of their sales take place on site at the customer site. Well, if you think about in manufacturing and distribution, a lot of these professional salespeople are spending a lot of windshield time driving. So they may be able to hit 2, maybe 3 appointments in a day. And what we've seen is that because virtually now, these men and women, these professional salespeople, the good ones that are saying, hey, let's embrace this technology, are hitting 7, 8, 10 appointments a day. And so what's happened is now you've taken this ability, this constriction because of travel time of only being able to see 2 to 3 prospects or customers in a day, and literally you've multiplied it by a factor of 3 and sometimes 4 of their capability to go out and touch more customers and more prospects. And Tom, it's amazing because the shocking thing happens when you talk to more customers and more prospects, you get more sales. Like, it's just weird. Sales is a number game. And so this concept of I just talk to more people, shockingly, I get more sales, which is incredible to me because shockingly, when you get more sales, then this other weird thing happens. The salesperson makes more money. And so we're seeing now several salespeople, a bunch of salespeople in the clients that we work with having record years. And not only just them, I'll give you an example for Go Brand Go. So last year, Go Brand Go, we brought on 6 new clients. We had 6 companies decide to partner with Go Brand Go. It was a huge year. We had record sales last year. We had 6 new clients come on, and that was really good for Go Brand Go. Tom, this year we're at 14 new clients. Now my business partner asked me a couple months ago, what were you doing last year? Because you only got 6 last year and you've gotten 14 during COVID. What? And I'm like, Derek, I don't know. I'm just stuck behind a computer all day talking on Zoom, and I'm having more sales conversations than I've ever had in my life. And shockingly, more sales conversations is leading to more sales. And I think it's leading to a better customer interaction because we can touch and connect with customers on a much more frequent basis now. So the best salespeople have realized that, hey, this technology, this virtual thing, this can actually make me more productive. Now, does this mean that I think that all sales should go to be just virtual? Heck no. Like, I still can't wait to get into our clients' factories and warehouses and whatnot. And I've even gone to some who are allowing visitors even still now. But I think now this concept of how do we leverage this hybrid model is going to unlock a huge amount of opportunity. And we're seeing that the best salespeople are still staying the best salespeople because they're adapting and finding ways to continue to provide value for their customers and their prospects. And the more value they can provide to more customers and more prospects, the better their company does and the better they do professionally.
Thank you. Very, very good. Thank you. So Phil, was there anything you would like to add there?
Yeah, I'd like to add 2 things. Those were all great comments. I think the first is that there's a lot more availability. We put on a webinar for our manufacturing clients in April. And normally I'd have to call, so many people to get a smaller number to attend. Almost everybody that we called said, yeah, I'd like to be on the webinar. And in normal times, a lot of those people would be on airplanes, they'd be closing deals, they'd have other things going on. So there's more availability. And second of all, the whole concept of team selling is really facilitated by this movement to online. And the reason team selling is so strong is that second person in the room, if you'll notice, when big companies call on you, IBM, Xerox, they almost always have 2 people. And the reason is that second person can play a very important role of watching the room. He can be picking up signals the other person isn't. He could be listening for discovery questions he thinks the lead should be asking, but may not be thinking of. He could rescue the meeting. There's a lot of things that could happen with team selling. Well, think about who that second person is you can bring in on a call. You can bring in the president of a company. We had a case where one of our law firm clients was competing for a piece of business that ended up filling an entire floor of a Chicago office building. One of the things that we did was we brought the general partner, the managing partner, into the closing session, and he guaranteed that he would make his #1 priority the prospect reaching all the objectives in their RFP. There was going to be no higher priority. Well, think about bringing the president in, or bringing in a vertical market expert, or bringing in a product expert, or a technical expert, or a sales coach, or a sales closer into your meeting. We have clients that retain us to go and help them close business. It's pretty expensive when we fly to another city and we have to, travel back and forth. To bring us in now in an hour, hour and a half meeting costs a fraction of what it did. So I would say do a lot more team selling now and leverage who can be that second person in the room.
Great, very good. Thank you. Brandon, back to you. Who will be the winners and losers with more and more sales activities being virtual?
I think the winners of more sales activities being virtual are the ones that are going to understand that while it is virtual, we still have to build rapport. We still have to provide value. We still have to run a sales process. We still have to get to know the different stakeholders. We still have to find ways to influence the sale. Like just because we've transitioned to a virtual sales model doesn't mean we abandon all the other best practices of sales. It just means we change our technique. Okay. So whereas when you used to be able to build rapport, you'd walk in, you'd look at the parking lot, you'd see if the CEO's car is parked right next to the front door, or if the car is potentially in the back of the parking lot. It tells you a lot about the organization. When you walk in, you'd see how you're greeted. When you sat down, it was always the old sales hat trick of, hey, are the person you're selling to, are their pictures facing you, or are their pictures facing them, right? Like, what's up on the wall? So all those little cues for professional salespeople are still there. You just got to be looking for them in a different way, right? And so, for instance, you could see my office back here. If I was selling to someone in an office like this, I'd be asking them questions about what are those Post-its there? What's with the mission, vision, and values, right? I'd be asking them those questions. And if they showed up to a meeting and they had a blank wall, I'd ask them to turn their camera around, or I'd ask them, hey, can you give me a tour of your building, right? Walk around with me. And it's amazing, if you ask an owner to give you a tour of their space with their phone, they get so excited because they're like on their phone and talking and walking around, and suddenly they get excited about showing you their space because they're proud of it. So the same techniques still apply for a professional salesperson: getting your customer excited, getting them on your side, feeling like you're both sitting on the same side of the table, staring at the problem, trying to work together to solve it. But we've got to adapt our techniques, and we've got to adapt our approach and our tactics to how we do it. So we just got to make sure we don't abandon. And those are going to be the salespeople that win. The salespeople that lose are the ones that bury their head in the sand, right? And say, hey, I'm going to wait until this thing blows over, and I'm going to go out and try to start selling. Or they're going to say, I'm only going to go visit those customers. Or they do this. They jump on Zoom calls and they're like this. And they don't show their video, and they jump on a Zoom call or video call and think they're just going to have audio the entire time, or use phone. It's like, embrace the technology, use it, lean into it. And I'm telling you, we're fine. It's working. Like the top salespeople, it's working.
Yeah, can I just add into that? I think Brandon makes a couple of great points. The winners are going to be those who take action, radical action. They embrace the new environment. They learn, they experiment, they figure out what works for their organization. And they don't stop. They don't camp out and hope that this all blows over, because it's not blowing over. And we have to figure out how to work in this new environment. How do we continue to not only serve our customers, but how do we find new prospects? And it can be done, and I think there are several advantages to this virtual environment. So I think, like the best advice I would give is just take action, be radical about it, experiment. You're gonna fail, but you failed before in the old environment. So just keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, Phil, is there anything you would like to add as well?
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that the gap between the top producers and the less productive group is going to get larger because of online sales. And one of the reasons is that relationship building is happening with the winners through creation of value. The less productive people are relying on just they're getting to know the person better, entertaining the person, relying on social connections, who we know, and things like that, which takes an awful lot longer. Trust can be built by the consultative sales process, whether online or in person, it doesn't matter. It's very difficult for the less productive people to develop trust offline. Same thing with expertise. The less productive people rely on self-promotion. The more productive salespeople rely on their sales process and the creation of value. The winners are negotiating less. The losers are finding themselves having to negotiate terms and price all the time. The winners are telling strategic stories to the right person at the right time. The less productive are just telling entertaining stories or jokes. I mean, it just goes on and on. And the winners are minimizing objections, and the losers are causing them and then having to overcome them. And the transactional sales process just doesn't translate to online. The consultative does, it comes across. So I think the gap is going to get bigger, and that's the big takeaway.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Phil. Brandon, we had a question come in. It's a great one. It says, how do you address clients or prospects that are unwilling to share video? So maybe they're working from home and don't want to be on screen?
I love this question. So the best salespeople control their environment, right? Like the best salespeople know when you go to lunch, they get there early because they pick their seat, they move the silverware around, they set the chairs right. Like the best salespeople are prepared and control their environment. And the exact same is for here. So if you want to make sure you get a prospect on video, first thing you do is you make sure you're the one that sends the calendar invite. You never let the prospect send the calendar invite. You send the calendar invite. Second, you include the video, Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever it is link, and you do not include the phone numbers in the calendar invite. You only include the link, which means they have to click the link and join from their computer or their phone. And if they join from their computer or the phone, there's a 99% chance there's a camera on that phone or computer. Then when they join, as soon as they join, they pop in, you start doing this and you start waving. Notice I did that as soon as everyone started hopping in, because immediately, what do we all do when someone waves to us? We wave back, right? Thank you, Tom. Then if they don't start waving or turn on their screen in Zoom and other applications, you can prompt their video. So as long as you're the host and you set the meeting, you click the prompt video, which pops up a big pop-up on their screen that says start video. And so then most of them click it, or they click no and it'll say start lit. And it lets you know this person says they'll start their video later, to which then you say, hey, Tom, I'd love to see you face to face. Is your camera working okay? Would you mind turning on video? Because it's a weird thing happens. When you ask someone to turn on their video and you already have your video on, they are more likely to turn it back on. I've had it one time in all this year of all the sales conversations we've done with a prospect where they didn't turn on their video and they apologized and said, I'll be on video next time. And they were on video next time. But I think we've got to be prepared. If we show up late, if we let them send the calendar invite, if we make it easy for them to dial in on their phone and not hop in on their computer, we have set ourselves up for failure versus setting ourselves up for success. So I think we need to control the environment and think about how we're controlling that meeting, controlling the environment with that prospect, and again, setting ourselves up for success.
Hey, I want to add into that. Brandon makes a great points, and he's doing a really important thing. He's using his hands and he's showing his hands in the video. And there's science behind that. And I didn't learn that until this year, frankly, until we went into this virtual environment. But when you're meeting people for the first time, especially, they look at they need to see your hands to develop trust. I mean, there's science, there's real science. Most people would say they're looking at your eyes or your smile or your face, but the reality is they look at your hands. And if you can't see the hands in the video, either you're waving or you're using hand gestures, it's psychologically, it's hard for them to develop trust in you. So make sure you use your hands, use them appropriately, and it's important to building trust.
That's great stuff. So while we're on that same topic, and we touched on this earlier with Brandon a little bit, but there was a question that came up. Can you share best practices on how you build relationships in a virtual environment? So we do have everything that Brandon shared, everything that Todd shared, but is there anything else anyone would like to share there about building relationships in virtual?
I'll take this one. I think you've got a huge opportunity to use the background and setting you're in. So I actually have a virtual background of my home office, which I'm going to put on right now. And so I use this virtual background of my home office. And most people notice is they notice this TRX right here, they notice the map behind me, or they notice this pink chair. And so right away, it allows us to start having a conversation about travel, about working out and health, or about the fact that I have 2 young daughters. And so that building rapport gets us talking, okay? That's one. Secondly, make sure you're checking out their LinkedIn profile before and know that they're going to be checking out yours. So I have on my LinkedIn profile picture my wife and I on a BMW motorcycle as the background image. I had a prospect call yesterday. The first thing that prospect said is, so I was on your LinkedIn and noticed this picture of a motorcycle. And I said, yeah, I'm an avid motorcyclist. I love riding, I've ridden all over the world. Do you ride? And he goes, no, I don't. And I said, really? Why not? He goes, well, I've always, my wife doesn't want to let me ride, but I want to get a bike. To which I said, what kind of bike do you want to get? He said, oh, it's my dream to get a Tiger Triumph. I grew up in India riding a Tiger, riding a Triumph, and I just love those bikes. And so we had a whole 5-minute conversation, rapport building, all about motorcycles. And it's because I was prepared. I had my LinkedIn profile up. That's what he checked. And then in our home office, he has a couple daughters. We were talking about daughters. So I think just like in sales, you've got to find a way to make that conversation rapport building about something other than what you're trying to sell. And if you don't ask any questions, shockingly, they don't answer any questions. So you got to be the one to ask questions, I think, to start building that rapport.
Yeah, Brandon makes a good point. I think that all goes back to preparation, right? It's even more important today to prepare for every video call that you have. And it's all there. I mean, not just LinkedIn, but just Google, and you can develop great information, personal information on someone that you're meeting for the first time, and then come prepared and ask a few questions, just like you normally would in a face-to-face meeting. So I think it's all about that mindset and being prepared. Preparation.
Todd, let me add to what Todd just said. That in the old days, when you were making a prospecting call, you were calling to try and sell a meeting that was going to happen a week, 2 weeks later. And you had plenty of time to create those discovery questions that Todd just made reference to. Well, today, you make a cold call prospecting call. It's very likely that because you're not going to meet in person anyway, the prospect may say, well, let's have the meeting right now. And so what I've been advising our clients is you have to be prepared for the real meeting when you make the prospecting call. And so I think Todd's comment about preparedness is very, very on target.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you all. And thank you to Scott Hartwig for that question. And thank you for Danielle Thomas for the question about video. Before we move away from here, gents, there's one more question that's similar to this. What about using PowerPoint slides during virtual call? Is that a good or a bad idea?
I think it depends on when you use them and what the purpose is. There's nothing buyers hate more than to see a salesman come in and ask where the nearest outlet is so he can begin his why us presentation.
Right.
So it all depends on what the purpose of the visuals are and when you're using them. And most salespeople demonstrate way too early in the sales process, and it hurts them.
Yeah, I agree with Phil on that. I think you need to be very careful. Until there's a reason to have PowerPoint slides, don't bring them. Really, especially if you're meeting someone for the first time, it's really all about them, right? It should be very little about you. And if you do have PowerPoint slides, I would limit them. I would condense them. I would try to keep edit them down to just the most important information on each slide, and then don't read from the slides. I think that is one of the most, it was boring before COVID, and it's just as boring in the virtual environment to just listen to someone read from slides.
Yeah, death by PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I would add to that yes, I agree that don't use them until the second or third time. If you are using them, you're showing your solution or showing something that constantly switch back and forth from video mode to presentation mode. And literally, you need to be bouncing back and forth. Otherwise, you're going to be losing people. And then also, it's a good idea if you have to walk through something, just do a screen recording of you explaining that slide or explaining that thing and send them a video so that they can watch it beforehand before you jump into your meeting or afterward. And that way you're not reviewing it and they can review it on their own time and they can hit 2x or 3x and watch it in a super fast speed. There's a lot of screen capture tools out there that make it super easy to do. And I think the best sales professionals are realizing, hey, I need to change how I deliver different pieces of content. And not all the content I deliver is best delivered live. Some of it's best delivered in a recording and sent over.
Great, thank you all. So we do have another question in the chat that we'll get to, but I think this is a good lead in here. Brandon, how has the relationship between marketing and sales changed now in the current environment?
So marketing, I think, has been thrust much more forward into, hey, how are we going to develop opportunities? Because up until now, marketing in my world, in the manufacturing and distribution world for the companies that GoBrand serves, marketing a lot of times was taking kind of that back seat, if you will, and trying to provide strategy, but trying to provide opportunities and sales collateral and sales flyers and whatnot. Whereas now marketing is taking a much more leading role in helping develop net new opportunities. And marketing's job now is shifted to how do we prepare the salesman or saleswoman for this sale, which means how are we developing leads? How are we developing prospects? How are we, trade shows have gone away, so we've got to find new ways to help salespeople develop these opportunities. And then marketing's got to be supplying these salespeople with the tools and resources and training to be able to deliver this information in a way that helps sales work. Sales also now needs to have a much tighter loop with marketing on getting feedback on what the marketplace is resonating with in the marketplace. Because before, your feedback loop maybe was a month, and from the salesman or woman would have this conversation to when marketing would hear about it. Well, now we need that feedback coming on a daily basis so that marketing can be adjusting what's going out into the marketplace to deliver better opportunities for sales. So I think right now, marketing and sales relationships, the teams that are winning are the teams that are saying, hey, we need to operate much more as a cohesive unit and have constant feedback loops versus campaign, let me know what happened, and just longer time periods.
Great, thank you. Phil, is there anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tom, that I think this has become so important recently that our company, Productive Strategies, has developed a practice area on the alignment of sales and marketing. And so we not only have a workshop in it, but we have a consulting practice in it. And I think part of that's because there are these new tools that enable marketing to be happening automatically as people visit your website and you see what they look at, and you customize a drip campaign back that's tailored to them. That's become so specialized. And as Brendan said, it's very important to keep the sales process and the marketing process real tight, so they both know what's going on. I've seen examples where companies' marketing will run a sale and production doesn't even know about it, and they're out of inventory before the sale starts. Or marketing offers a deal and the salespeople don't know about the deal, and they're embarrassed when the prospect brings it up. So it's very important. Things are happening so quickly that they stay in alignment.
Great, thank you both. So moving a little bit from sales and marketing to specifically prospecting, and we have a couple questions coming in regards to this. Todd, what are companies doing right now to find prospects?
Yeah, so what we're doing and what we've continued to be doing is we're big believers in networking. And networking, and I learned a great deal about networking from my friend here on the panel, Brandon. But if you can do an effective job of networking and go at it in the right way with a giving mindset, you're going to develop a whole bunch of people outside your organization who can be a great, impactful salesperson for you. And you will see, they will send you prospects. And just in the last 2 weeks, we've had two great examples. One of my colleagues who's a really strong networker just got a call late last week and turned us on to a prospect that we didn't even know existed. And there's a real opportunity for us to finance an acquisition. So that's awesome. And then just this last week, one of the people that I have in my network shot me an email and just said, hey, I recently met this person, instantly thought of you because of your focus on family enterprises, and I connected with him this week. And again, it's a prospect that we weren't aware of, and it's in actually a different city where we have presence. And I believe over time, if we do it right, we can develop them into a good prospect, and that's good for our organization. So I think networking is a really strong way to do it.
Thank you. Brandon, is there anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, so like Todd, I think relationships and sales, opportunities are going to come through relationships. You've got to make it easy. So if you're not building a top 10 list of the companies you want to meet and sending that out monthly to your referral partners, you're, I won't say you're an idiot, but you're not leveraging your relationships that you've built. How's that? So you should be creating a top 10 list of, hey, here are the companies and people that I want to meet this month, and make it easy. Send it out to people. 1. 2, if you're not doing some sort of cold outbound email prospecting just to try something out, I think you're missing the boat. People are willing to take meetings now. We're landing more meetings than we've ever landed before. And we're like, one of the companies we use is a company here in St. Louis called Sapper, and they do a fantastic job of outbound cold emails, and we're finding that it's working. It's generating some good opportunities for us. 3, there are other programs that you can find people's contact information on. So look at like a seamless.ai or look at Zoom Info. And I can't tell you like how many times Ryan, the business development person, relationship manager here at Go Brand Go, has found someone's cell phone, shot them a text message, and got a conversation going with them. And so like there are lots of tools out there to get people's information. And if you're leading with value of what you're trying to connect them with or show them resources, people are willing to take the meetings. So yeah. I give you a couple of those tools just as ideas. Todd?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to break in. One other thing I just wanted to add before I forgot. We've had some recent success with webinars and doing them jointly with other advisors to our target market, an accounting firm, an insurance broker. We did a series of 3 webinars on cybersecurity and fraud, and we had great reach in that. And out of that, we've developed a few, again, new prospects in terms of at least we know they're out there on the radar. And because we're developing these partnerships with other advisors, we should be able to leverage that into introductions at some point in the future.
And I'll give you 2 more. Thanks, Todd. I'll give you 2 more quick tools. One is visualvisitor.com. Visualvisitor.com, put that on your website, $60 a month. It'll give you a list of all of the companies that have hit your site, as well as the top executives, emails, and phone numbers for those people that have hit the site. And that is really helpful. And then lastly, what I would encourage you to do is talk to your customers and ask them where they go to learn. And when they say, what do you mean where to go to learn? Ask them like, what associations do you belong to? What organizations do you belong to? And then taking out ads in those email newsletters that have to do with some sort of white paper or something like that you're promoting. We're seeing that as a really good way to generate new opportunities as well.
Great, thank you. We'll circle back on the topic of networking here in just a moment, but we do have a question. Oh, and before I forget, thank you to Chris Murphy for the question about the PowerPoints. Another question comes from Matt Salaberry. So Matt, thank you for the question. I've recently started using LinkedIn Sales Navigator as a lead generation tool. Are there any other tools or best practices to fill the front end of the sales pipeline with new names? So we've touched on a few of those, but yeah, Brandon, go right ahead, please.
I think we hit them. I mean, there's a whole bunch there. So hopefully you guys are taking notes. So seamless.ai, Visual Visitor, Zoom Info, looking at those email newsletters. I think there's a lot. And then, what Todd said, leveraging your network and then building out your 10 prospects and sending them out. I mean, so many salespeople are like, I don't understand why I don't get more referrals. I'm like, well, you idiot, you're not making it easy for people to give you referrals. If I meet with you and you tell me I want to meet business owners, well, what the hell? I've met 1,000 business owners in the past year. You think I'm going to introduce you to all 1,000 business owners I've met? You're out of your mind. Give me the list of like who specifically you want to meet, what industry you're in, who's the person's name. Make it easy for me to make a connection for you. If you think it's my job to help you sell more, get out of here. It's your job to make it easy for me to make the introduction. And the easier we make it for our referral partners and the people we have relationships with to make the introductions, shockingly, the more introductions they make.
We have a document that we give to people who indicate they'd like to refer to us, and it covers everything from how do we create value, what problems do we solve, how are we different from other sales training organizations, and we give that to people. And one of the things we suggest is take our template, remove our content, and put your own in and use this document for yourself to give to your potential referral sources. And if anybody would like to see a copy of ours and take the template and make it for themselves, I'm at pcrone@productivestrategies.com. I'd be happy to send you ours and just redo it. And if you want to send it back to us so that we can refer to you, we're happy to do that.
Tom, I would just add, maybe it's a segue towards networking, but whatever you do, especially with networking, go into it with a mindset of you're there to help the other person, you're there to give to the other person. And your attitude should be about how can I help you? How can I learn more about what you do so I can help you be successful, and give and give and give and give. And then when you think you've given enough, give some more. And then when you finally have earned the right to ask for an introduction, then that's the time to ask, right? But go into it with a giving mindset, an abundance type of a mindset. That's the mindset you need to have successful networking that will generate leads and referrals and prospects back to you.
Let me give a good example of how to do what Todd just said. When we go to a networking meeting and they're going around the room and everybody's introducing themselves, when they come to me, what I do is I never say anything about myself. I indicate which people who went ahead of me I think I'll be able to help, because this person was looking for a specific kind of lawyer, or this person was looking for that. And all of a sudden, all the people who were really thinking about what am I going to say when it's my turn, and they weren't really listening, their ears perk up because they hear somebody's already trying to give back, pay forward, help somebody else. And when I finally do get, if I'm given 2 minutes, maybe the last 15, 20 seconds is about me. By then, everybody in the room is listening because I've already given a lead or indicated I'd like to talk to them about a connection I can make when the meeting's over.
Fantastic. Great information, guys. So circling fully back to networking, Brandon or Phil, do you have any comments on networking itself, especially in the given environment?
Well, the one thing is that, only about 3% of people are very good at cold call prospecting and are good at it and enjoy doing it. So they'll, even if they put aside 2 hours to do it, they'll get a cup of coffee, they'll go to the bathroom, they'll check their email, better see if everything's okay at home. And gee, the 2 hours are almost up. So, and you can get very good at prospecting with the right training. But most people find that networking is a lot more enjoyable and fun. And one of the nice things is we just got an account that we're training right now. I met a woman at an event 8 years ago. Haven't talked to her since. She's been getting our monthly column on business development issues. And she had a client who had a need. So there's an 8-year delay. So while you're busy doing your job, if you have an army of people who are keeping their eye out for you, there's really nothing better. These leads can come back 5, 10, 15 years later.
Absolutely. Can I offer another method within the context of networking? Something I've always done, and I'm doing it even more today, is working with people and networking with people in transition. And in today's environment, there are many, many more people looking for the next opportunity on their career path. Many of them are COVID casualties. Interestingly enough, I'm seeing younger people who have reached kind of a point in their career where they're looking to change paths. Whatever it is, if you give them your time and can help them with some networking ideas, some guidance, some counseling, how to take that next step, or here, I'll help you make a few introductions to keep you moving on this journey towards your next mission. I do it because it's the right thing to do, and I never expect anything out of it. But I also know that will come back to me in spades over time. And, many of these folks will land in positions that will be with one of your clients, or it could be with one of your prospects or a COI. And believe me, they remember it. I was in transition once, and it was not fun. It was scary. It was lonely. I made it through. A lot of great people helped me. And I remember all those people. I remember every one of them who helped me, even if they couldn't do something specifically for me. If they give me some of their time and we could just talk, have a cup of coffee, even virtually, that's incredibly uplifting for someone in transition. So I highly recommend that approach.
Great, thank you, Todd. All right, anyone else on the topic of just general networking, and especially in this given environment? How do you network in COVID times?
Bill, I want to give some credit to your email marketing, because it sounds like your email marketing helped that client stay in touch with that COI, center of influence, over 8 years. So I think that's a great example of how marketing's got to be continuing the drumbeat of consistent communication out to the people that we want to stay connected with. The only thing I'll add, Tom, is similar to build on Todd's point of giving, is that the late Zig Ziglar, I think, has one of my favorite quotes of all time. And that's that you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. You can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And I'll tell you, every networking opportunity that I go into, my focus is on how do I help you get what you want? How do I help you introduce you to somebody, give you a resource, share with you a tool? How do I just focus on helping you get what you want? And literally the whole conversation that we have, my first conversation with people, is all about that. And I don't talk about my business or talk about my company until I've given some value, because Todd made a great point earlier. We don't deserve, we haven't earned the right to be referred. We haven't been referable. We don't deserve it until we've helped somebody else. And so true networking is about helping other people and serving other people. And only by giving do we receive. And that we've got to be focused on giving and giving and giving and giving for the sake of giving, not giving for the sake of getting. Because I tell you what, everybody can smell commission breath a mile away, right? Everybody can tell a taker a mile away, right? When they're in it all for them. But if you show up genuinely trying to serve and help people, that's what keeps connections. And I'll leave you with one more quote, and I can't tell you that, so someone on, maybe that one of our attendees can tell us, but people will forget what you said 1 week from today, but they will never forget how you made them feel. People will forget, no matter how great your oratory skills are, they will forget 1 week from today what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And so you better get focused when you're networking and when you're talking and building relationships on how you make the person feel. Which means if you're an idiot, you shouldn't be, and you're on your phone, you're making them feel worthless. If you show up late to a meeting, you're telling them that your time is more important than them, right? If you're not giving them your full attention and you're allowing your email to pop up on your screen and you're not present, right? They can tell that, they can feel that something's just off, right? So we need to show up authentically to just give, because people will always remember how you made them feel. Maya Angelou, thank you.
Yes, Maya Angelou, one of our, two of our guests. Good, very well done.
Kelly Huber and Bethany Whiting, thank you for that.
I wish I had like a gift I could throw out into the audience to you guys. That would be perfect.
Yeah, it's a great
A high five, way to go.
Virtual.
Phil, hey, Tom, I don't know where we're going, but I wanted to maybe just offer a few comments on leadership. We've talked a lot today about what top producers can do and less effective producers, and the differences in mindset and discipline and all of these other tools that can be used to drive growth in a business. As a leader, as a sales leader myself, over the last 18 months, what I've really learned is, hey, it's my responsibility. It's part of what I do. It's really the only thing I do to help my team, to teach them these skills, to help them grow professionally so that they can have the right mindset, so that they have the courage to use the tools, that they become better leaders themselves for their team. It's all about leadership. You can't just expect one of your salespeople to figure this all out on their own. If you're a strong leader, you will serve your sales team and they will become better, right? And I'm not perfect by any means. I still have a long way to go, and I'm learning a lot from my team every day. But I believe that's the purpose of my existence. That is my purpose within the organization, is how can I help my team get better?
Great, thank you. Phil or Brandon, anything else on leadership in the sales and marketing cycles?
Yeah, I think we have to Todd's point, leadership is about helping other people become their best. And I think a lot of leaders see themselves as leaders because they have a title, or seeing themselves as leaders because they're developing and growing other people. And I think the more that we can focus on how do we help other people grow, right? Coming back to Zig Ziglar, the more we can have everything in life we want if we just help enough other people get what they want, right? And I think from a leadership standpoint in your organization, the more that you can focus on helping other people become their best self, realize their dreams, hopes, goals, aspirations, the more the that you and your organization are going to realize your hopes, dreams, goals, and aspirations. And so leadership, I feel, is all about helping other people become the best version of themselves and then just getting out of the way.
That's great. Phil, anything from your side?
No, I think that covers it very, very well.
All right, great. So we've got a couple of other questions here. Todd, this one's to you. How can we use stories to help networking with networking?
Oh, yeah, great. I'm glad you brought that up because I think this is really, really important. And, you know, think about, especially if you're networking with another professional who serves the same client type that you do, or even a client or a prospective client. But, you know, how did I learn how to do it for many, many years, which was exactly the wrong way. You show up and you've got some type of, I don't know, slides about all your capabilities and why we're great and all of this. And, you know, frankly, the person on the other side doesn't really care. And we're bankers. Most people, you know, they have a basic understanding of what a bank does, and we all kind of look the same to them. So trying to show them, you know, about our capabilities and why we're so great, or why, you know, in the league tables or whatever, I don't think that works very well. But if you can focus them on, you know, exactly what you do and how you help people, and tell them a story about how you can do that, then they will remember you, right? And we tell stories in our sales meetings about successes or failures, but one that comes to mind recently, again, we focus on helping leaders of family enterprises, typically the CEO who's a family member and a CFO who's typically a non-family member. We help them solve their problems, right? So that they can achieve their goals and objectives. That's the essence of what we do. So over the summer, we were able to help one of our clients, a prototypical family enterprise, multi-generational, and they had a shareholder in one of the younger generations who wanted to be, you know, had just gotten to a point where this person wanted to get out. He didn't want to be in the family enterprise. He wanted to go off and do his own thing. And, you know, it was causing some issues within the family. It was a tough challenge for them. And we were able to provide financing to this business, which they didn't ask us to do. We, as they told us what they were planning to do, we were the ones who came to the table with the idea and said, we could lend the money to the business, and then you guys could, you know, pay out the shareholder, and we're good with that. And we did. And what we gave them was, you know, family harmony, right? We gave them peace within their own family. And that's really, really important to family enterprises and the leaders of family enterprises. You know, they value their families above all else. And if we can help them achieve harmony and peace and help that person who wants to self-actualize in a different way outside the context of the operating business, then, you know, we've achieved success. So if I told a story like that to someone on the other end, that's a much more meaningful way to show and demonstrate to someone what you do than, you know, throwing your capabilities down in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Phil or Brandon, anything else to add there on stories?
Yeah, I'd like to tell you a story about storytelling, because it has to be the right story at the right time to the right person for the right reason. There are people who believe that selling is just storytelling, and that's a big mistake. But as Todd points out, storytelling can be very powerful. So our sales course is called Focus Selling, and it takes 3 months, and we develop custom sales processes. And we had a company that was in the investment management business that on the last session, the 4th session, they said, we'd like to have you make a sales call for us using the sales process we just spent 3 months developing. And we, the 4 owners of the investment management firm, we'd like to go along and watch you make our sales call. And I said, terrific, let's do that. But I want all 4 of you in a planning session. I want.
I don't know.
Oh, we got a little screen freeze on Phil.
I'll pick that one up. So I think to pick up on stories, one of the things that people miss with stories oftentimes is when you're networking, how to tell a story about who you want to serve. And so Go and Go, what I'll often tell people when we're networking, when they say, who do you serve? My answer is, well, Go and Go serves $25 to $250 million privately held companies whose owners are in their 50s and 60s, making a leadership transition in the next decade or so. They're generally in manufacturing distribution, and they generally ride a motorcycle, have a couple of grandkids, a vacation or timeshare someplace, and they've already invested in strategic planning. And then that launches us into a great story about why do you ask your prospects, clients, ride a motorcycle, have a couple of grandkids, and a vacation home or timeshare someplace. And it gets me to tell a story of, hey, they're comfortable taking risks, they live for something other than money, and they're not micromanagers in their business. And suddenly now, by creating this narrative of this people that we are built to serve, then they are able to remember and connect those stories to people they actually know and facilitate introductions. So we remember facts, we remember things based off stories, not just reading rote facts. Phil, I see your back, so I'm going to let you pick it up with your story, my friend, and how you went and crushed a sale for a client.
So what happened was we had the planning session. They said, by the way, we've never had more than a 10-minute meeting. The company we're calling on is a consultant to pension funds, to unions on how to invest their money. And the guy's ADD, we go in and we've got a guy who is all about unions, and he can connect with this guy and tell union stories, but the meetings don't last long. So I said, well, I'm glad you told me he's ADD. I'm going to give him a copy of my discovery questions to keep him focused during the meeting. 2 hours into the meeting, I called the meeting off.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna wait on that. I'll just offer a comment also on stories. As leaders, you all have stories in your own businesses about how you've served a client or how you served a prospect and really helped them solve a really important challenge, or brought the solution to the table at the exact right time. Tell those stories. Tell them within your team so that your teams know them. They're usually right there. All you got to do is ask for them or listen for them. So find a way to memorialize them and educate your entire team around them.
Fantastic. Thank you, Todd. So we do have one more question that came in. This is from Danielle Thomas. Do you feel direct mail campaigns carry more weight now than they did before?
I'll take that one. I feel like direct mail has always been a good medium. There are a lot of people who think, hey, we should invest all our money in digital and send everything to digital. And I think that they're missing a huge opportunity if you're not utilizing direct mail. Now, the challenge with direct mail now is you don't have a lot of people in their office. But the people that are in their office, like think about when mail comes in, people are now excited to go to their mailbox at home, and people are excited to get mail again because it's something different to this Groundhog Day we're in. So I think if you can leverage direct mail to people that are in the office, and I have been actually reaching out to, like, when I get a referral to somebody, I'll oftentimes ask for, can I get their home address? So you heard me tell the story about the prospect who likes Triumph motorcycles. Well, I ordered on Etsy a little Triumph motorcycle coffee mug, and the person who referred me to him, I am mailing to his house a Triumph coffee mug for him. And so I like direct mail, it still definitely works. But again, just like we talked about earlier, you've got to change the tactic in this COVID world of how we're sending it. Phil, we'll let you finish your story before we lose you again.
I don't know where I got dropped off, but the meeting lasted 2 hours. They got a check for $15 million to manage the money about 3 weeks later. And it was all because we went in to create value for the prospect, not entertain them with stories about ourselves.
Very good. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Just some key takeaways here, folks. If you haven't jotted these down, make sure you do now. So get your Zoom presence right, get your camera angle right, your lighting and everything right. Mindset is very, very important in everything that you do. Your Zoom conversation is just that, another conversation. Use the room and use everything around you to stir up conversation and inquire about the people. Be interested in them. Be a go-giver. Make sure you're going out to give rather than to take. Use the same techniques that you're using virtually that you would in a normal sales cycle. Don't stop networking. Don't have commission breath. That was a good one. Make people feel good about themselves. They will always remember how you feel. Provide good leadership to your team during this time. More sales calls can be done virtually than they can in person. Use stories in your conversations. And last but not least, ask lots of questions. So Todd, Brandon, Phil, thank you all very much. Thanks to everyone that joined us today. We appreciate your time, and we hope you have a good rest of the week. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Great
you,
job.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Enjoy the day.